Thanks for joining us on My 11th Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. Now, India's official start to the domestic season was supposed to have happened 3 days back. But then the rain god said, that's not happening, which meant a lot of you went home disappointed. A lot of you cricket fans wanted to watch a full game of cricket, which meant that these 2 off days, I was thinking for you guys. How was I thinking for you guys? Because I was busy in deep negotiations with the rain gods. And the rain gods told me, look, it's a bit of give and take, my friend. The give and take is this, that not a single drop of rain is going to come upon Mohali tonight in that second T20. But what you have to take and what you have to rather give is commit to a full season on Cricbuzz at a bumper contract. And, I'm thinking for you guys, so I'm saying, sure, why not? Thanks so much for joining us on the show. I'm joined, of course, by Joy Bhattacharya and Pommie Mbangwa. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I was busy in negotiations. Joy? What have you been up to, sir, these 2 days?
Oh, I was just looking up your name because I've rarely had an anchor out here who's had not one film but 2 films named after him. One 1976 film, one 1990 film, one 1992-93 television series. So I've never had an anchor whose name is so famous even before he became an anchor.
But you know what, something, Joy, that it has always been, as far as the opposite sex is concerned, that name has always not helped me. Because they've always thought I'm Sunny Deol or something or the other. So they're expecting a big guy coming their way, and up front, in front of them comes this little puny little guy. How have your 2 days been?
They've been restful. Yeah. They have.
That tells you
Working too hard. You're working too hard.
They've been restful days and good days, though. Hey, look, you want to get a bit of rest. Not so sure about working out contracts like you have. Look, I mean, well done. It seems it's a tough decision to make, and you kind of, under duress, have said yes, have you?
Not under duress, but I've slightly put it in there. And whoever's watching, I've said that. Discussions will happen post the show. But of course, the toss has taken place in Mohali. Second T20 international between India and South Africa. Virat Kohli has won the toss, and he's elected to bowl first. Now, the playing 11s will, of course, be coming your way in just a bit. And the big news, of course, is, as far as the openers toss-up is concerned, Joy, they've gone with Shikhar Dhawan over KL Rahul. Now, the only problem I have with this is, KL in Tests has not been doing well. He's been giving a big leeway. KL in T20s over the last 2 years has been one of your best strikers of the ball. So, how does this...
I think they're just going back and they're turning around and saying that, okay, why mess with something? Why mess with something if it ain't broke? And Shikhar Dhawan and Rohit Sharma are going to end their careers, no matter what happens from now on, is one of the great partnerships of, white ball cricket, They'll Greenwich Hens and, Saurav and Sachin, Saurav and Sachin Sehwag. They'll go down with them as one of the great partnerships. And therefore, I think they're just saying that these guys are in the prime. Why are we messing with it? At this point in time, give these guys the opportunity. And they would be a little bit concerned about Dhawan because he's been a big game player for them and he hasn't really been that consistent of late. So they probably want him back in form.
It must have been quite a difficult decision, though, in trying to decide
Who would you pick for me?
Yeah, well, look,
Do you back form? Do you back reputation? Do you back partnership?
And let me make the point, actually, first, but to say I think it's a difficult decision because of history. So with regard to the partnership, it's a good partnership up at the top. But in terms of conditions and having played there, the nostalgia or the memories for Shikhar Dhawan, Test match debut 185 on that ground. The next part then is KL Rahul plays for
Kings 11.
Kings 11 and game by game absolutely plunders runs on that surface. So it's a difficult one to get to. And in the end, it's probably a case of seniority wins out. And you don't lose either way if you're Virat Kohli or Ravi Shastri decide, Vikram Taro, kind of deciding who you want up at the top of the order. So it's an embarrassment of riches. I think essentially it would depend on how you want them to work it out at the top. And left-right combination always helps. And in the end, you kind of win. Either way, I don't think you'd have lost, though.
Now, of course, as far as the Indian opening combination is concerned, not just the Indian opening combinations, how the Indian openers handle themselves in the power play. A lot of people have been talking about that. Guys, just take a look at these numbers. Rahul, Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul, Shikhar Dhawan, the 3 openers in the squad, Joy. There's a strike rate of 134, 124, 133 in power plays. Now, going by the norm of T20 cricket, is that a good strike rate?
I don't think these are bad numbers. 130s, late 120s to early 130s, mid 130s is a fairly good strike rate. It's a decent strike rate. It's basically setting up because these are the guys who are going to set it up. The thing you see is that if you see Lokesh Rahul is a little less, 14, 15 matches is not enough matches to give you a quantum, because this man can really motor if he wants to. I mean, it was just last year that he hit a 17 ball 50 on this very ground. So he can motor if he wants to. I think a lot of the statistics you need to see with respect to the conditions they were in, where they're chasing. If it's flat tracks, 120, 130 is not great. You should be 140, but there are tracks on which 115, 120 would be great if the ball's doing a bit. So I think it all depends on conditions.
The reason we brought this up, Pommie, is because the Indian batting coach in the pre-match press conference has gone on to say that you'll expect an aggressive approach from the opening combination. Now, aggressive means what? Taking your strike rates up to 150, 160 in first six?
I think so. The game is played under whatever conditions are presented. And so because of that, we've got to be wary of taking the layman's or the Oxford, Cambridge, Collins, take your pick, definition of the word aggressive. Essentially, it's not about us defining what aggressive means, and we cannot stick to one definition of aggressive, right? Each time that whoever it is who's at the top of the order goes into a game, they must decide what is required for that particular surface on that particular day. Now, on average, looking at those strike rates that you spoke about, 135, 125 is not bad over a number of games, and it's saying that you're getting a pretty good start at the top. You know, if you are number 3 and number 4, and this is what you're getting from your number 1 and number 2, I don't think you can be complaining. Essentially because the roles are slightly different. Yes, in various situations, what you have is the new ball is the best time for you to take everything on and to try and put pressure on your opposition. But sometimes the new ball is when it is quite dangerous because the pitch doesn't quite allow for you to go as hard as you can. So all that needs to be balanced. And the expectation, I believe, from Vikram, when he says you'll see aggression, is the intent particularly to go at your opposition and to assert yourself in the situation at the start of the game. If it does not allow, so let's case in point, Rabada bowls well at the start. You don't still go at him because you then just open the door for your opposition and you give him 1 or 2 wickets at the start, there's a problem, right? But if he's just off, your intent must be that he must pay if he's off, and whoever else, if they're off, they must pay, and then you get the ball rolling.
I completely agree. I mean, intent cannot be, you cannot define it by numbers. You cannot define it by numbers, you have to define by situation. And again, I go back to that thing, what Callis used to do for KKR and for South Africa. He'd walk in, he'd go there and say, okay, this is a 170 pitch, 180 pitch. A lot of it is also, how true is that pitch? How well is it going to play? You can do all your punditry before, till you walk out there, you really don't know how that pitch is going to play. So, when he says aggression, I think he's meaning intent. And I think also coming in as a new coach, and remember, he's one of the coaches, a few coaches who's been changed. He also feels the need to make a statement and say that something has to change when he's here. You know, I've just got into a new job. I've got a KRA, so I've got to say, I've got to go and say something and, establish that, okay, there's something that needs to change out here.
I'm here doing something.
Yeah, I'm doing something. Yeah. And it's necessary.
So my point is this, that as far as T20 internationals are concerned, you can't call India a powerhouse. Given what they do in ODI and Test cricket, we're ranked 4th in the world. We've played 3 T20 international series this season. We've lost 2 of them. We won only 1 versus West Indies. So if you had to put a finger on something, why we're not number 1, which we are in the other formats? Then
2 things. One is that I really feel over the last couple of years, we've focused on Test match cricket a lot and a lot on 50 over cricket. And the reason for that is the World Cup was around the corner, and we have, I'm not completely a believer in that. I believe you should play every series to try and win, but we've often dropped a lot of players towards the end. T20s have been the last 3 games of series. You've dropped players, you've changed teams. We've not really given our attention. And what it seems to happen now is that, so it's always been the rump. T20 is seriously played in India during the IPL. We really don't take international T20s that seriously because we haven't had, unless it's a World Cup T20. So I think somewhere that attitude will change because there's a World Cup around the corner and then another World Cup around the corner. So that's going to change. But that is what I feel is more responsible for it, rather than the fact that we are bad at it. I think we're pretty good at it. It's just we haven't focused on it at all.
Now, of course, the Indian team has been picked, and in some time now, the Indian team is going to be stepping out because Virat Kohli's won the toss and decided to bowl first. But we're giving you now, of course, the chance to pick your team as well. All you've got to do is make sure you go on the my11circle.com, and then once you're on my11circle.com, step one is to download the app. Yes, download the app, and once you've downloaded the app, select a match and create your own team. And if you win and you beat sort of Ganguly's team, well, you've got a chance of winning 3 times more cash. 3 times more cash. Now, moving on, of course, we're talking about the Indian team in a while. For now, they will be coming up. Expert advice, guys, as far as this is concerned. We asked you the same question for the first T20 that didn't take place. Who would you pick as your captain? Everyone wants to know this.
I'm not veering away from what we said in game one, which didn't happen. I think Hardik Pandya, I think he'll have a lot to do. I think that he'll bowl. I think he'll kind of find himself just about everywhere as far as being in the field is concerned. He is, and I know he's the one guy whom you'd say, oh, that's not putting your eggs in one basket, because you get a chance in just about everything he does. Some might decide they want to decide on who was going to score heaps of runs, but yeah, that's putting your eggs in one basket. So for me, all-rounder Hardik Pandya.
I would have gone with Pandya, but just to add a little spice to it and add a bit more to it, Pandya would have been one of my top choices. I'll go with Quinton de Kock. Opening the batting, Rabada's bowling, Nortje might be bowling, might get a couple of catches. I'll go with de Kock.
Hardik Pandya and Quinton de Kock. Now, since of course we're talking about big man Hardik Pandya, let's just show you a couple of his numbers in T20 cricket. And he's been in phenomenal form these last 2 years in T20 cricket. But in T20 internationals, 38 matches, wickets 36 to his names, runs 296. And what you're not seeing in that stat, guys, is that in the IPL, he's batted 61 and 66 times for Mumbai Indians. When he does play for India in the international arena, he's batted 24 times in 38 T20 internationals, which again begs the question, are we batting too deep? Are we using him a lot later in the game? How do you?
So I think there needs to be kind of stepping back for everybody, because in trying to analyze, so many analyze the game as if everyone gets a chance to do everything all the time. No, the game has roles for every person. And sometimes, some don't bat. Sometimes, which is more rare, some don't bowl who are meant to bowl, right? And sometimes some will bowl a little bit. Sometimes others will bat a little bit. Should the situation allow, Hardik Pandya is available to be used for whatever that situation is, which we know what he can do. Bashes it, finishes off an innings, whether you're in a chase or you're setting, he can do both those things and is pretty brutal at doing it. There is, however, beginning the innings. There is stabilizing the innings if you should be 2 down or 3 down pretty quickly. He doesn't do those things. So the situation for him exists should certain things happen. And therefore, there are those people who do that setting up of the game so that he can do his job. And you've got to systematically then set up the team so that he has the opportunity to do that. Will he be successful? Is he generally successful? The answer, more often than not, is yes. And that's the role he plays. That's just how it is. You can't then look at the numbers and look at them in isolation without looking at what happened in this game, what happened in that game. And what you should do, I think, is think from an overall perspective and go, in general, when we think of Hardik Pandya, does he get the job done? Sometimes you might, because you like the guy, you might have the wrong answer and that you think, yes, he does, because he played 1 good innings. But if you are batting coach, if you are head coach, you're looking at these numbers and that's how you're looking at them. Here's this chance, 21, 20, 19, 18. This is what he's done, scored at 170, scored at 200, scored at 10, scored at whatever it is. But generally, we've sent him in at 4 because we had 200 on the board, or we had 150 and there are 5 overs to go. We've sent him in at 6 because there were 2 down early, so we moved somebody else up, and he had to come in when the building was done, and he was now coming to set it all up and finish it off. So all of that must come in rather than here are the numbers. This is what the guy does, because it doesn't tell you anything, actually.
That's a lot of planning.
No, that's absolutely, and it's one of my pet peeves. One of my pet peeves are people look at batting in T20 matches and they compare openers with finishers. It's just stupid. Somebody going in there in the first over, having a chance to bat six when the field is in, they're going to get more runs. Finishers' jobs are to basically maximize those last 5 overs, 6 overs. Rarely they'll come in 10 overs, 11 overs, or they'll come in a bad situation in the seventh over with 35 for 4 or something like that, where they'll be in trouble again and they can't force the pace. So whenever you compare a finisher, remember their job is a completely different job from an opener. And they're like, in Test cricket, the difference in averages will not be so much. But the moment you come to T20, 50 over cricket, it will be different, and T20 cricket is remarkably different. The roles are completely different. And today, Hardik is a finisher. The only guy I've seen who they've actually switched roles is, if you'll see in Mumbai Indians, Surya Kumar Yadav. Surya Kumar Yadav was a finisher for the Kolkata Knight Riders. His job was to come in the end and whack it. Now he's become an opener. See the difference in runs. He used to make 150, 200 runs a year in the IPL. And he used to do very well for his team because, in those days he used to get 15, 10 ball 25s. Now his job is to go and get a, 80 ball 100 or a 60 ball for 80. That's what his job is. And you can't compare these two.
100. There's a specificity to the planning within the game because it's so compressed. You can't afford to be slightly off. So over 22 yards, if you're off this much at this end, you're a long way off at the other, right? So over the 20 overs, if you've got the wrong guy batting in the wrong place and he chews up 10 balls, that's a lot of deliveries in the game, right? So there needs to be the specificity of planning with regards to how your batsmen bat at which stage. And you must have the right guys in. And it's taken all of us a long time, players, coaches, planners, Moneyball people, whoever it is, a long time to work it out. You just watch how the IPL has gone from way back when guys were saying, oh, what's going on with RCB? They're a test match team, because there are too many guys who are good as players. Their numbers are all fantastic, but they all played the same way. So it's had to be a mix and match. This guy does this, that guy does that, this guy finishes it off. And if it's not time to finish it off, that guy doesn't come in, we send somebody else in. And each one does what they do. And if it works out, then generally you're going to get a really good score and a winning team.
And you guys thought T20 was just all come in, slam bang, entertainment. There's a lot more that goes into it. Now, of course, in case you haven't realized, there is another team playing today. That is South Africa. Yes,
well
let's
done.
take a look at South Africa playing 11 right now. Quinton de Kock said there are 3 debutants in that side. For me, when I was talking to Zahir before the Dharamshala T20, he said while they might not have too much international experience, T20 experience galore in this 11.
And you'll find that generally around the world. So the debutants are Themba Bavuma, who has played test matches, Bjorn Fortuin, who plays for the Lions and has played with Quinton de Kock and Themba Bavuma because they played in the same franchise. Quinton de Kock has since moved. And then Anrich Nokia, who was supposed to go to the World Cup and broke his finger. And so he couldn't go to the World Cup. Sad for him. I think it was Morris who replaced him. And he's got pace. It would have been a kind of difficult juggle for who they play. And the reason, as far as I'm concerned, Petroguayo will walk in at number 7. They have 6 batters. And do they want a number 8? Do they not? Do they want 5 bowlers out and try and go with that? And perhaps we can put the team up again to have a look at it so I can point out with regard to the batting. So Quinton de Kock, Reza Hendricks, Themba Bavuma, they're put in 3 there.
5 bats.
Those guys, Rassie van der Dussen and David Miller, they're the 5 batsmen. They're going to, that's what they're going to do. They have to each time. They have to play every single game. Then Andile Petroguayo is an all-rounder, as is Dwayne Pretorius. But as I look at that, my thinking is that Pretorius comes into that side because he can bat. And you don't want a number 7 who's a bowler, and bowler more than a batsman. So he can bat and he comes in there. He might even bat before Andile Petroguayo. They might kind of mix and match in that regard. And then the rest essentially is about bowling. Fortuin comes into the team because he can bowl with a new ball. He's a left-arm spinner. clever left-arm spinner, did well in the Mzansi Premier League. He did well also in the CSA T20 challenges, got wickets, managed to keep things really tight up at the front. He's just kind of been this guy who not so much overlooked, but hasn't got a chance because others have been better. Tahir, nobody's going to get in ahead of Tahir. Then Shamsi, who's gone around the world and done decently around the world, so became number 2, and each time he comes into the South African side, he does decently enough. So, you know, no space for anybody else, really. So, yeah, I think it's exciting to see what they bring. It's exciting for them. A couple of days ago, when we were talking about Game 1, we said there is a special motivation, kind of like teams when they go to Lords and play against England. Because it's home of cricket, because it's England, everyone wants to do well, they get on their honours board. When it comes to 2020 cricket and playing in India, the Indian Premier League is the premier tournament for 2020 cricket. It changes people's lives financially, and therefore, teams turn up here, want to do well, want to knock India over. That's just how it is. So these guys will be well up for this.
You're always looking, if you're part of an IPL team, whoever's coming into the country, you've got blinkers on looking whoever's playing there?
Absolutely. And, you know, I'll tell you, there are two things. One is you talk about, it is important, you know, it's not that IPL teams watch every game around the world. They have scouts all over the world. But the fact of the matter is, it's not just teams who make a decision. You see, what happens is you go on the table and you're sitting around and you're the two scouts. You've seen every player, you've seen tape, you've seen video of this. Your owner might be sitting out there and they'll say, oh, who's that? Pretorius. Oh yeah, he whacked that ball at Mohali. You know? That could make the difference between an IPL contract between two players and not. It's not just about the guy who's sitting out there. If two players are very close, the people who the owners or the team management have just heard of or say, or have seen, it makes a difference. And everyone is aware of that. This is a place, this is basically your shop window.
Correct.
Perform in the shop window and your chances always improve.
Yeah, recency, closeness.
Absolutely.
Right? So the recency...
Auction 2 months away.
Correct. The recency thing is huge. It's big. But also, I mean, we're going to talk about all the tournaments around the world that are 2020 tournaments trying to be like the IPL, right? Wherever they are. Guys score their runs there. But then there's a certain, we're scoring runs in India where, and getting wickets in India where the tournament's actually going to be played and in front of whichever franchise owner, because they might actually be there, you know, or someone who's in the franchise will be sitting at the ground and think, whoa, this guy. And it's going to stay right top of mind to say, well, that guy turned up here and smashed it. So I think we have to have this guy in the team. Also, in your opposition, you have India's captain, and you've got a couple of other captains, right, in the franchise setup, who are going to be watching and seeing you destroy them. And when they go to whoever their owners are, they'll say, hey, listen, I want that guy.
I'll give you a great example. This was 2011 Champions Trophy. We are playing in Hyderabad and we are playing the Trinidad team, a Trinidad and Tobago team. In those days, the Caribbean Caribbean Premier League hadn't started. It was the state team. Great team, Kiran Pollard, this. And there was this one guy with this strange haircut who played a practice match against us. He didn't even play the main match.
Yeah, I remember.
He played a practice match against us. And Gautam Gambhir, who's one of the best players to play in the world, couldn't pick him. The next auction, the first thing we turned out and said is Sunil Narayan needs to be wearing purple next year. That's how it happens. You've done it because one captain playing him, knowing what it is. If today this guy turns down, take a Virat Kohli and says, you know, this Norrie has wheels. He's really quick. 150, you know, he could do this in Bangalore. You bet your life he'll be going for the auction.
And who else was there? Pollard. There was the bidding war silent bidding war between KKR and Mumbai that went on for ages, right? Because we just have to have this guy. He absolutely smashed it at the Rajiv Gandhi Stadium. Smashed it. Someone else, leg spinner, did well in that same team. Badri. Samuel Badri did very well. It just is when everyone turns up here these days, not that it used to be different before in other formats, they want to win here. They want to do well.
Right, the IPL is pretty far away. We're focusing on, of course, the second T20 International. Motivation for all you South African players after that entire discussion. Cha-ching! All the very best and get yourself an IPL contract. It's time now for the joy factor, sir. What do we have in store for us today?
I've given them a nice slow full toss outside the off stump. They should have hit this ball for 6 immediately. Okay, here goes. Which cricketer was the first to make his international debut in a ICC tournament final, and not a junior ICC tournament, a senior ICC tournament final? And just to celebrate that, he hit a 6 straight up over the bowler's head of the second ball he faced. You know that.
Pommie, you know this? Can't give us the answer,
Can't
but
can't give it away.
yeah, can't give it away right now. Of course, there is hashtag Cricbuzz Live. Get that answer correct. And of course, if you win it, well, we will congratulate you. That's the most that is in our hands right now. And of course, we're pretty close to the game now. It's time now for our My 11 Circle Expert Couch prediction. Now remember, this time whoever gets his prediction closest to the actual team with a variance of plus or minus 10 will get to sit on the My 11 Circle Expert Couch. Gentlemen, who is starting? India is bowling.
I'm going to really go and I'm going to lowball this one.
Okay.
Inexperienced South attack, quick couple of wickets go down. I'm going 145.
145.
I'm going 178.
That's quite a difference.
Yeah, big difference. 178. That's what.
178. I'm supposed to give my number?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Of course you are.
160? Because then I'm closer to Joyce and I'm closer to Pommie's as well.
That's
Yes, for cherry picking.
yeah, goodness gracious. Clearly, your discussions and your negotiations, you kind of went in the middle. Oh, hi, buddy. Let's go high.
There is no IPL contract on offer. Pommie Mbangwa, Joy Bhattacharjya, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, you can get us on the 10 over update on Cricbuzz Live on your mobile phones. Make sure to get the notifications for that. That is the Cricbuzz Combox. Thank you so much for watching. We, of course, will join you again during the mid-innings break. This was My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live.